It was only when I went into medical school that I realized that, my love for stitching is a passion. I love to close the wounds.
In Parliament, do your colleagues ever come up to you with like ailments and saying, hey, my back's been really hurting recently?
Society, in all instances, actually nobody really bothers with how good you are. At the end, it's just the outcome.
Okay, our guest today had a former life as a family doctor before becoming an entrepreneur and later on holding top positions at healthcare companies like Parkway Pantai and IHH Healthcare. However, these days he spends his time racking his brain over policies for our country's workforce and of course looking after the residents of Marine Parade GRC. He is Singapore's Minister for Manpower, Tan See Leng. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Good morning.
What an honor. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for the invitation.
And for this early as well. Are you normally up this early?
Actually, earlier.
Yeah,
earlier.
It's like 9:30 now for those viewing.
Yeah, earlier. It would be quite good if I can wake up so late, but I never do. Never had the opportunity.
What time do you normally wake up? A normal day, typical day for you?
Usually, I'm up by about 6 because I'm an early morning person. So I cannot. Once I go beyond 11:30 midnight, I start to wind down, and then you just cannot focus and concentrate. So usually, I'll just crash, and then in the morning, automatically 6 a.m. I'll just wake up.
Really, without an alarm?
Without an alarm.
That's pretty amazing. Let's do a quick straw poll. Alfie, what time do you normally wake up?
Like without alarm?
Yeah.
I'm a morning person also.
You are,
but I'm also a night person. So I just don't sleep. No, I don't know.
The eye bag's just going
Yeah. Without alarm, weekends.
Yeah.
9.
And you haven't partied the night before?
Either ways. Like 9, 10.
9, 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
12 is like too late for me. I feel like I wasted my day.
Yeah.
I'm like annoyed by that. That's
How are
why-
you, Pris? You're much younger.
It depends.
I feel like you're a 12 o'clock kind of person.
Oh yeah, but same as Alfie, I'll feel bad if I wake up at 12 because I feel like half the day is gone. But if without alarm, usually around 9, latest 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I tend to wake up around 9, 10 as well without alarm. Oh, we're all the same, we're all in sync, except for Minister.
Well, if you sleep too long, right, too late in the morning, actually a lot of people tell me that they wake up with a headache.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you oversleep.
I don't think it's an oversleep thing. It's just your own rhythm.
Yeah.
I guess it varies with people.
And to wake up at 6, what time do you have to go to bed?
There isn't a fixed time. Okay. Even if I end up finishing late, say 1 a.m., I'll still automatically wake up about 6.
Wow.
I guess I'm not as young as all of you. You're all you're old enough to be my kids.
Yeah.
But I guess the older you are, automatically you don't sleep that much.
Yeah. But if you have like 5 hours of sleep, do you like function less? Like, are you less sharp the next day?
Usually, I take in between naps.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a power nap. So all I need is about 15 minutes shut eye.
Yeah.
So what I do is that during lunch, I don't go out. Usually I tap out in, and in between, after a quick grab, and then I'll just shut eye for about 10-15 minutes, and then it's a brand new day.
Okay.
On your desk?
Either on my desk, sit on a couch, and then just this is a very nice couch.
Yeah.
Just sit back like this,
Yeah.
and then you've got so many of these. They're not very
soft
good for
cushions.
allergies, but I guess it'll work if you want to take a nap. I better don't sit like that.
How comfortable are the seats in Parliament House? Do they ever are they conducive for a nap?
I really would encourage the three of you volunteer, get elected, and then try the seats for yourself.
Just for the seats.
Just what?
No,
Just to
you
test it
contribute at the same time,
okay.
because it comes together. So when you work hard and you contribute, you serve, you find that the seat gets comfortable. Yeah, and of course, if you don't do anything and all that, the seat of course can get cold.
Yeah.
I'm just
can get
pulling a
hot.
leg. I'm just pulling a leg.
Nice. Are you someone that people often come to for advice?
I guess there are. In the past, people would come to me for advice.
Okay.
Then, as you, so maybe let's dial back, right? When I first started as a family physician, right, family doctor, people would come and see me obviously for medical advice, and they pay me for it,
Yeah.
right? And then when I went into corporate, went into administrative role in healthcare companies, and it became more of a mentorship. You provide guidance and so on to many of your colleagues, the more junior ones, the younger ones, or people who just want career advice.
Yeah.
And of course, in terms of also how do they sort of improve their prospects at promotion or doing certain roles and so on that they have ambitions or aspirations for. Then I transitioned to this current level where I guess it also comes with age,
Yeah.
a bit of white hair. People will come to you for all kinds of advice. But on Tuesday nights when I have the Meet the People session, it's
Yeah.
mainly requests,
Okay.
mainly for appeals and so on. So I guess you see the whole myriad, and in all of the different stages of my life itself, you see different needs, you see different types of advice, different types of requirements for counseling, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Would you mind if someone came to your MPS and to your Meet People session and just asked you for advice? Hey, Minister, I have like this thing that's really bothering me. What do you think I should do?
I do have a number of residents who come to me for this kind of advice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess the key thing is I have to be mindful also of the fact that I'm also a POH, right?
Yeah.
A political office holder. So when it comes to manpower issues, for instance, then particularly if there is an ongoing, whether it's investigation or whether there's a dispute mediation, a lot of times people come to me for TADEM type of issues, which is this Tripartite Alliance for Dispute
Yeah.
Mediation. I also cannot sort of, in a way, prejudice anyone, or cause anyone to be in an awkward position. So in those kind of setting itself, I then would have to state my limitations, my constraints very, very clearly.
Yeah.
And generally, I think most people, whether grudgingly or non-grudgingly, they understand. But other than that, I do get a fair bit of people coming to me for advice in terms of whether it's career planning, whether it is for even for admission into medical school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what's the best way if they want to be a doctor, kind of?
Yeah, or whether should they even do medicine, or after medicine, whether they can then go into the corporate part of healthcare,
Yeah.
the business of healthcare.
That's kind of what
Yes,
you've done in your career. And conversely, on the other side of that, what is the best advice that anyone has ever given you?
The best advice that anyone has given me, I think it's actually a whole series of good advices.
Okay.
There's no one kind of eureka moment, boom, suddenly it comes out, well, that's the best advice I've ever had. I think, many of us look for that single moment, but actually, very few people actually get that kind of spark. Most of us, it's a series of small steps. So I would say that that whole series of advice that I've had whether it's from my teachers when I was young, from my ex-bosses, my supervisors, and also colleagues. You learn from your colleagues, and of course, currently the more experienced colleagues within cabinet. Consistently, is this thing: never stay still, keep moving, keep improving, keep learning, and keep transforming.
Okay, nice. Well, people at home, they can take that to heart. But before we get started, I think Alfie has a question she's been dying to ask you. Go ahead, Alfie.
Does anyone call you Min Dr. Tan?
Yeah, do you lose the doctor
Yeah.
now that you're a minister?
How do you... which one would you prefer? It would be cool if you can combine both, but obviously that's too long.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, right, if you take the two initials, you take M and you take D, it's MD.
Oh.
right? So it's still a doctor, right? Nowadays people just call me Min Tan. And it's strange because I know a lot of Tan means something. In my past, we're still friends.
I know a Tan means something too.
We have a
I mean,
Tan something in our office. Yeah.
No, exactly. So now people call me Min Tan quite a fair bit. So I've actually given up after 4 years of telling everyone, please, either SL, See Leng, Doc, right?
Doc.
Yeah, right. DOC, Doc, not DOG. DOC, Doc, right? But I think that people say no, cannot.
Yeah.
So if people came to you for advice for like politics, then Min Tan. If it's like, I'm not feeling well.
An ailment.
An
is,
ailment.
Doc.
Especially like our soft toys that you were talking about. And it's like, okay, Dr. Tan.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, you can call me anything. You can call me uncle too.
Okay.
Don't I look like uncle?
Chris, what do you think?
No.
A very friendly uncle. If we were to,
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into the questions that you guys have, if you are watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on Spotify, and you have a question, you have a sticky situation that you are in, you can write to us at the link that's on your screen right now. That same link is found in the show description as well. And who knows, you might get someone as intelligent who's both a doctor and a minister to answer the question in the future. Okay, Min Tan, are you ready for the first question?
Sure. I just don't know whether I'm intelligent, but I'll try to get ready.
Yeah, if you're a doctor and a minister, you must be of a certain level of intelligence, I'd imagine. Okay, question 1. This is from viewer James. And James writes, I've been working in the corporate world in various companies, but lately I've been feeling unfulfilled and burnt out. I want to try something different, but I'm also not sure what, and I'm also worried about having to start from scratch again. What should I do? James wants to know what he should do.
Well, first, James, thank you very much for that question. Let me tell you that it's really very, very normal and natural to feel that way. I can tell you that I've gone through that many times in my life too, right? Sometimes, on a very long, you had frustrating day, nothing seems to go right. Even the traffic light as you're driving, seems to every single stop turns red on you, right? And then you'll be wondering, why is it that, once I get to the next traffic light, rather than it going green, it turns red again, right? Or someone cuts into your lane. I know we've gone through it, and then the day just seems to drag on, and it goes through at night. It's quite natural to feel that way, and we've all gone through that. So that's the first thing that I hope that you can internalize, right? That you're not unique in feeling that way, that many people feel that way. And I want to emphasize that because today we do have a lot of people who feel that way and they don't articulate it, they don't vent, right? And they keep it and internalize it within themselves. And I think that is really, after a while, you just keep it all within you, all cooked up inside. And that is really a downward slide. It is the start of a slippery slope down. And that's how all these mental health issues start. Now, if I can share with you a bit of what I usually do in situations like this, is that after I finish the day, I try to go and walk, clear my mind, exercise, make yourself tired, get a good night's sleep. Once you wake up the next morning, right, it's a brand new day, it's time, then you take stock. Now, nothing, no one, no event in this world can actually help you better than yourself. And all of us have it within ourselves. You may feel that you want you've reached a ceiling in terms of your career development. You may want to have a change of environment. I think the first thing you need to do is take stock of what you've done. Look at all of your achievements. Celebrate those achievements that you have within your, with your friends, people who are like you, who are good to you. Don't go to negative people, right? And then with them, get a bit of advice, see whether you could actually talk to even within the company itself, people who are more supportive of you, and sort of get a feel of what is out there. Take charge, take ownership, right? If you find that there are certain gaps in your skills, go use the time that you have within the company to go and upgrade, and the government will help you every step of the way. There will always be some courses that you may want to try, and who knows, you may actually have unwittingly stumble upon a new skill and something that you may be really good at that up to now, hitherto till now, you didn't know. But the key thing is to take control, take charge yourself, because no one will be more interested in yourself than you yourself. And the best way to step out of this negativism is for you to make that first move. Difficult step, but take that small step forward. Then write it down. Study how the industry is transforming, which economic sector is a growth sector, is sunrise. I mean, I always tell people that healthcare is a sunrise sector because at any particular point in time, you always need healthcare, right? And we are aging. You could go into renewable energy, for instance, right? Now, green economy, sustainability, those are the in things, right? Go into generative AI, go into deep tech, right? Now, if you don't have a flair for all this, look at something maybe from the perspective of a social enterprise. How you can help another fellow human being, how you could even work with a group of people. So there are all these multiple areas. And if you find that at the end of it all, you don't have friends who can support you, don't have supervisors and so on who can give you good guidance and so on, there is always the government. You can come to WSG, you can go to E2I, just talk, or you can just go online, start getting and taking an active interest in your own career health, and then you continue to learn, you continue to upgrade, you continue to make sure that you retool yourself, you reskill yourself, and that you stay abreast of all the changes and keep yourself ahead. I think the more you're able to be confident about what you have, the better your chances are making that pivot. And you don't have to be jaded with the circumstance, right? Always think circumstances will change. Nothing, is going to last forever. Even very tough bosses, they're not going to stay on forever, all right? We will all go through this. Everything is in a constant state of flux, and the worst will always pass you by. So stay positive.
Nice.
I think you mentioned a lot about exploring and like not being jaded by the situation. How does someone actually become focus on one aspect? Like, how do we know what we should focus on, or like what we should be passionate about? Like, how do you come about finding that thing for you?
I think we will all have our own likes, our own aspirations, our own ambitions. And so passion is something that you starts off with maybe an interest, right, in something. So for instance, we were all very exhilarated by Max, right, winning a bronze medal on National Day for us, right? I'm sure his passion is the sea, correct? I mean, you can't do all this kite falling if you don't like water, right? I mean, I can't imagine you doing it on land and so on. So I think it must have started somewhere. And then as you delve deeper into it, you start to find that special niche that you have. So I can't tell you which particular area it would be. When I was young, my mom thought, that she wanted me to, go and do all those, guy stuff, right? There's woodwork and metalwork in secondary school, but I prefer stitching. I said, walao, this, my only child, said, he thought that, I'm going to be some, now I cannot use this, all these kind of words because, everyone is, so I don't want to get cancelled. But, he thought that, hey, why is he not doing all this, metal work? And I prefer stitching.
Yeah.
I found that actually I really like stitching, but it's not the conventional, stitching clothes and all that. it was only when I went into medical school that I realized that, oh, my love for stitching is a passion because I love to close the wounds.
Stitching
and I do, stitching up humans.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to do surgery. Because, it's not just plastic surgery, right? I wanted to be a cardiac surgeon because I'll be stitching blood vessels, okay, and you harvest from at the time you harvest from the legs, right, the saphenous vein. Of course, now they do, more advanced kind of stuff itself from the chest, the internal mammary artery and so on. But last time they used to harvest from the leg, the long side, and then they'll attach it, and you need to have very, very steady hands because the stitch material is actually very fine. It's like 7080. That means it's very, very thin. So I realized that was my passion. But when you first started and you're just doing stitching, and so you didn't realize what it would be. And of course, I eventually didn't end up doing surgery because I had a lot of other family circumstances, and so that I had to take care of, and I moved on into family medicine. But even when I was running a clinic, right, I would set aside afternoons where I remove lumps and bumps and I stitch it, and I would take my time and I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Up to today, I still enjoy it. And my kids are doctors, so I tried to get them interested. So my daughter took it up, so she's doing A&E. Then my son, he doesn't like stitching. So, passion, you can't, it's sort of innate in you.
Yeah.
Right?
How important do you think it is to be passionate about your work?
I think you have to be true to yourself.
Okay.
That's the most important thing, right? Follow your own heart, your own desire. You will find, if you're passionate about something, you will find a way, you find a route, you find a very good path to success. And success can be in many, many things. It's not just about money, it's about position, about ranking, Success is when you find fulfillment in what you do.
And you had multiple, careers like over your whole life, basically. Like how did you make the decision to move from the healthcare sector to becoming a minister, even from before, like you were a tutor before?
Yeah, like when you went from being a doctor to the business side of healthcare, was it because you're no longer passionate about stitching people up and you wanted to do business kind of stuff?
No, actually, I think necessity is the mother of all invention. Our time, we had. You must understand that. This is very, very comfortable, right? You have air conditioning. I know, notwithstanding, we have a phone that dated back to my era.
Yeah.
But it's a very comfortable thing. But during our time when I was growing up, we didn't have all these creature comforts, and in those days you just make do with whatever you have. So I became a tutor because my family, we needed the additional bucks, and it was like, you just spot your own neighbors and so on.
Yeah.
I remember that I asked a lot of questions in class, in school. So the teacher was like, "Why are you so inquisitive?" Actually, it wasn't. It was because they asked me. Then I got to answer that. I said, "I'll get back to you tomorrow." So then I came back. I
wasn't even the right subject. You just asked the math teacher some English questions.
So that's why I said necessity. So that's how I became a tutor.
Right.
Then all the way through secondary school and then junior college, then my mother was always ill. And at the time, I thought that... so I actually got a humanities scholarship for a while. And I thought that, okay, maybe I should... with a scholarship, you're more or less... At least the educational part of it was taken care of, right? But then when my mother became very sick, I pivoted, right? Sorry, it's a bit long-winded, but I wanted to tell you that mine is really, necessity pivoting me to... or pushing me to pivot, you see. So when she became very ill, and I was always with her in and out of the hospital. In those days, SGH, they call it C by Paul, it's called C by Paul.
What's it?
That's another slot. They will take a long time already. But
we'll do another podcast on that.
So SGH is called C by Paul, and when you go there, right, it literally, it's like rows and rows, and in a C class ward, it rows and rows of patients. They only sort of thing. You know, they'll pull the screen, right, to cover you if you need to do some dressing or some procedure. And the whole place will smell of, we used to use this Usol and Dettol. So the whole place will smell of that kind of reek of disinfectant. So at the time I said, you know, I was in my teens.
Yeah.
I said, well, some hospitals are like that. In those days, nobody wants to go to hospital because you go there, you say, well, jialat already, you know, you're going there, it's like tail end already.
Mm-hmm.
And hence, healthcare was really last resort. You go to the hospital kind of thing itself. So you can imagine that it shaped my thinking. It, you know, when you go through this kind of thing, and then I saw all this tua lokun, you know, this you know, very senior doctors wearing the white jacket, you know, with a stethoscope around. I said, "Wow, damn cool, man." Maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
So that's how I pivoted to do medicine. Then, of course, we went through this whole period in the 80s. I was a medical student, right, from 1983 to 1988. So for 5 years, there was a lot of transformation. NUH opened up. And then we realized that actually the ones who wear the white overalls, right, are medical students.
Okay.
The white coat. Yeah. But of course, now they moved on to wearing scrubs and so on. So during the time, that was where I rekindled the interest in stitching. So that's why I wanted to do surgery.
Yeah.
Then again, when I graduated, the family circumstances was that I needed to you know, sort of the training itself would have taken me too long. You know, my family circumstances were quite dire at that time. So I decided to come out and start a clinic with some friends. And then I just grew. I felt that whatever you put your mind to it,
Yeah.
whether circumstances, whether it's your own personal passion or otherwise, you just go the full 9 yards into it. Don't look back, and you just make sure that you actually come out of the other side, the portal, come out more than being alive, come up on top of it. So whenever I set myself into doing something, I try to aim to be the top three.
Okay.
So when I started Healthway with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and another close friend, I said one day we will try and list the group. And he said, "You must be mad, you know." Then my wife was always saying, I'm damn scared of you. So it is that kind of passion, you see.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I structured. So Healthway, then I studied the market. I think it's quite that I have that natural curiosity and that interest. So I studied the market. So I said that at that time Raffles and Shenton, they really have a very good stranglehold on the CBD, the Central Business District. So I said we cannot compete with them head on. So I started in Yishun, in Jurong West Extension, in Bishan, all the new HDB housing. And it turned out the strategy worked. So I never looked back. It just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. And then in about 10 years, we became one of the largest private non-listed group.
Yeah.
And then after that, we were preparing for what we call a liquidity event, meaning that you can sell, right? And I had a foreign healthcare insurance company who came and bought us out. So that was what happened.
Yeah.
So then I was in my 30s. I felt that I was inadequate because all I did was start a chain of clinics, maybe had some managed healthcare plan and some labs.
Were you inadequate?
I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah.
I felt inadequate. So I wanted to learn again. So in my mid-30s, I decided that, hey, let's go and get an MBA,
Okay.
right? So not married but available, but MBA, Master of Business Administration. So in my 30s, I went to do an MBA. But I wanted to do a more finance-based MBA. So I ended up with, and it was here, Chicago. Now it's called Chicago Booth. So a lot of fun because, it was the first time that I could study without having to worry about finances.
Yeah.
Because all through medical school, all through junior college, all through secondary school was damn stressful, because you do not know whether you have enough to pay the fees and so on. It was the only time where I didn't have to worry because I already sold the business and so on. I was quite independent already.
Yeah.
Then after I graduated, I thought that actually I want to still do healthcare because I as I said, that it's a sunrise. But I didn't know much about running hospitals, because chain of clinics, labs and so on, but hospital experience. So that's why I spoke to both Dr. Lu, Raffles, and at the time the CEO of Parkway was Dr. Lim Chok Ping. And I sort of, then the opportunity came for me to anchor one of the hospitals in Singapore. And I went and I learned. I said that, can you send me to some of the top hospitals? So I went to do a short residency program with Mayo Clinic. And I was 40, almost 40 at the time when I went. And it was the first time I experienced, I went in winter. It was really cold. And there was like 6 feet of snow. Then you had to clear the path. But everything was underground. And because it was January, February, it was really in the deep of winter. So at night when you walk in the basement, it's quite eerie in the hospitals because you're alone.
Yeah.
So you don't know whether there are others
A lot of dead
walking
bodies
alongside
as well,
with you.
I
Yeah.
suppose.
So those were the learning period. So from 40, then I learned, and I guess I was quite blessed. Eventually got promoted to the entire, to run the whole group itself. Then I worked with some shareholders, restructured the company, delisted it, then we relisted it again and then ran it until 2019. And then I decided that I think I've done enough in the private world. Maybe time to give back because I've been quite blessed. So again, it's passion. I actually wanted to do a social enterprise.
Okay.
Then I had a chance encounter with then PM Lee, now SM, and here I am.
What would the social enterprise have been? What
I
would
wanted
it
to
be
do aged care.
about? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to build a very nice retirement homes for people to have a sort of a spring when they decide they have the option to go and live there to celebrate what they have achieved for their lives.
Yeah.
So it's in celebration of the coming of a certain age.
Nice.
Is there a certain reason why that particular area?
Because I'm trying to build it so that my wife and I, my friends, all we can go and live there as well.
Future
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
Future thinking.
Very nice. And how about like now? Do you still miss? Do you ever miss stitching people up?
Can you
Well,
still?
I can stitch you up anytime.
Hey, I've got mole on my back. I'm legit thinking of getting cut off.
I by the way, I've maintained my medical license all this while.
Oh yeah? So you can still.
Yeah.
It's like
Do you lie down on
yeah,
the
we'll do it on the
table?
table.
No, but I got to sterilize that area.
Do in Parliament, do your colleagues ever come up to you with like ailments and saying, hey, Doc Tan, can you, what do you think of
Doc
this?
Min.
My back's been really hurting recently.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mention who, but there are many doctors in Parliament.
Yeah, but you're the best, right?
No, they are specialists. So they are specialties in their own field. So I think they are a lot more qualified. But I do get occasional sort of requests from time to time. What do I think of this? What do I think of that? But usually I end up referring them back to people whom I know. Yeah, for them to follow up. But this is an interesting event that actually happened. I think about 2 years ago. There was a business dinner, and one of the fund managers of a certain sovereign wealth fund, I won't mention who. I don't think you. I think you don't need to guess. You know which one. So they had a group of foreign visitors in town, and this guy, I think he's I'm not sure whether he's Swiss or Scandinavian. He had an allergy to shellfish.
Yeah.
And in one of the, I think one of the dishes, I think it was whether it was Joe Duck or whatever, Then he took it, he started to itch and have the hives.
Yeah.
So I was the guest of honor. Then I saw it. So immediately I called the organizer, and I wrote literally on a napkin. I wrote down. I put on my MCR. I signed it. I said, "You go down to the pharmacy and you pick up this medication for him." So they went down. Then the guy looked at it, saw my MCR. MCR is the medical certificate registration number. Then they gave, and then he came up. He took it. Then he got better.
Was he like choking?
He wasn't. No, choking, you need an EpiPen. Really.
Yeah.
This was just developing. It's before it went into that choking thing.
Yeah.
I don't carry EpiPen with me all the time.
But you carry a scalpel and like a stitch kit
No,
just in case.
I don't.
Just in case you gotta get it out there.
So he got a free consult, free treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. By a minister, nonetheless. Yeah, that's awesome.
Min Doc Tan.
Doc Tan See
Doc
Leng, yeah. So this second question comes from someone using, I guess it's a pseudonym, Fairies. And Fairies writes, so I have been with this company for a few years now. It's my first company that I've worked in since graduating from school. Recently, I've been thinking of quitting as the pay is considered low as compared to other companies. But I am on the fence because I like the job scope and my boss and colleagues are very nice. I do have a goal of owning my own house and marrying someday, and staying in this company is going to make achieving my goals slower. Any tips on if I should stay or go? Because personally, I think it's damn hard to find a good boss and nice work environment, whereas good pay can be found anywhere else. But I also need a higher pay because inflation, need for house and marriage. What should I do? What should Fairies do? Stay for the nice colleagues and boss or leave for a better paying job?
First, get married. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Start your life together. If you found that person whom you love, let me tell you, that in itself is one of life's greatest fulfillment.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the first thing you should do. Now, then, okay, the rest can follow. I think that it's good that you are torn between financial security, good workplace, good work environment, good bosses. Maybe what you should be doing is, first and foremost, look at yourself, look at your own career, look at what you have done thus far. So we have this program called Career Health, right? Where we put in a lot of policy improvements, measures to help you improve, first and foremost, your own monitoring, your own active interest in where you are. I mean, look, all of you are very healthy. I mean, obviously you go out, you exercise, you go for regular medical checkups. I know you're still young.
We just had a medical
Yeah.
checkup.
Yeah, right? So likewise, right? How people would take care of their own physical health, why don't you spend time also looking at your own career health? Look at all of your qualifications, look at all of your training, look at all the courses that you've done thus far, right? And continue to see whether they're relevant to the industry that you're in, to the sector that you're in, right? I mean, a lot of times for us, we keep thinking that, oh, we're too busy. But nothing should take precedence than your own interest, your own active interest in developing yourself, right? So that you continue to make yourself marketable, employable, and indispensable to whichever, whether it is organization, whether it is bosses and or colleagues, then you will always be secure, you will always be very confident in what you do. I think that's the first thing. So first get married, all right?
Dr. Love.
Yeah.
Tan See Leng.
Yeah. Well, I never thought of it that way. Yeah. No, but first get
Next
married. Yeah.
Manpower,
All right.
Career Health.
Then the thing about career health, because it's when you take an active interest, then you know what are the developments out there, how the world is progressing. Because the world doesn't wait around for us. The fact is that people always say, that change is a constant. Actually, it's not a constant. Change is accelerating, right? So you got to move fast. You just got to keep running. And the way to do it is to understand how the pivots, the transformations, where they are happening, in what direction are they happening, and then you can then go with the flow, correct? So I cannot overemphasize it, I cannot over reiterate it, but this is a very fundamental thing. And if you need any guidance, we'll be free to help you. Now, when you have done that, then you know what is in store. Then the next thing you need to do is your company that you're in. You may like the environment and all that kind of things. It's a very collegial, very supportive. But if that particular industry is in a sunset industry, then it's very difficult for you to continue in that same mold, in that same momentum, and in that same gradient. Because, I mean, you look at how our country has evolved. During my time, right, there were a lot of garment factories, right? You know, there's this, one of my old classmates, the father set up, they're Taiwanese, he set up a garment manufacturing here right in Jalan Tukang, where they do all this OEM for Esprit. Last time there was a brand called Esprit, long time ago. Yeah, you see, now it tells you how old I am. Yeah, right?
You know
Yeah,
Esprit.
I think we were already around when Esprit was still
Yeah.
young. Yeah.
Ouch.
Oh, Esprit. Yeah, I know Esprit. Yeah, I know Esprit.
Yeah, it's all coming back. So, but I mean, the fact is that today, there are very few garment manufacturers here in Singapore, right? Once upon a time, you had all this heavy, making TV, right? Now everybody looks at flat screen, correct? Your OLED, high definition, whatever, flat screen. Once upon a time, Sony, the Sony Trinitron and those big cathode ray kind of, you see, you look so confused. You never heard of it before.
You lost me there.
Yeah, that's right. This was so. What I'm trying to say is that can you imagine if you work in those kind of companies, right? And you find that it is really, being pivoted out, transformed away. Nothing you do, no matter how nice the environment is, no matter how good it is, you're not going to be able to change. You're not going to be able to transform. I mean, you're at that kind of, the company is just doing that kind of thing itself. So maybe time for you to have a chat with your bosses to say that, hey, right, as you're helping yourself and you can see where the company is headed towards the sector and so on, the bosses may appreciate you giving them some form of guidance or even advice as to how they should pivot their industry. And my other hat, right? I know I'm here as Manpower, but I'm actually the second Minister for Trade and Industry as well, right? We have all these grants, the Productivity Solutions Grant, to help companies with job redesign. If they want to pivot and so on, we can actually help companies do, so long as they do it. The key thing is that you cannot stay still. Because whether we like it or we don't, all right, the world will continue to move forward. So it's better that we move along with the flow itself, rather than you go and stand in front of the bus, right? The bus will mow you down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So get on the bus and move in that particular direction. Right? To further add, in the last time we had this phone. Correct? And then you want to make a long distance call, you got to call some switchboard, then they have to put those lines and so on. I'm not
I've
sure
seen
whether
those in like old-timey cartoons.
actually, no, you can see them still in John Wick.
Oh yeah.
The John Wick franchise, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Keanu Reeves, it was damn cool one, is it, they bought a contract on John Wick, and then you see all of them coming up and then dispersing, right? So now, I mean, we do video calls, Zoom, FaceTime, WhatsApp, to anywhere else in the world, correct? Once upon a time, you have I know you all probably haven't heard of the Palm Pilot.
Yes, I remember those.
In 2000, early 2000, there's a Palm Pilot. Everybody thinks it's damn cool, You carry a digital diary, and then you can take a stylus, pen stylus, you write, all that kind of things.
What do you write inside?
Make appointment.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a calendar.
See, now you think it's like so, your thing is so lame, right? You see, I know, I see that line of reasoning. It's
You
like,
play
my
games
God,
on it. I play games on it.
this uncle is so lame, wow, Palm Pilot, But that's how the thing has moved on, you see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Faris, my advice to you is that the world doesn't wait. Time and tide waits for no man. So we might as well internalize it. The earlier we internalize it, the faster we move, the better it would be for you and also for your company.
Yeah. Earlier we spoke about the different kind of jobs that you've had, different roles that you've had. Which
Yeah.
was the hardest one to leave?
I think that when you are at the near the peak of your career, it's always very hard to step off.
Okay.
And but knowing how to time, your succession planning, knowing how to pivot, I think that in itself is another story altogether. But if you ask me, the first time when I stepped off was when I was CEO of Healthway.
That was the
After I
company
sold
that you
the
start-
group
that
that
you
I started,
Yeah.
sold, and then I went into the hospital group, quite junior at that particular point in time, and I learned a lot of things along the way. Now I'm learning again, So I think the key thing is that if you have that humility, I think that's very, very important, that every single step, every single stage of your journey is a journey in discovery, in learning from other people who have been there. And as long as you adopt the attitude that there will always be better people that you can learn from, and that you cannot possibly know everything, I think you'll be okay.
And earlier we spoke a bit about passion in work, right? Do you think? Just before I left university, I was speaking to one of my professors, and he gave me this advice that I've thought about a lot, since then. One is that if you're lucky enough, you find a job that you love and you can do that job, and you can be happy at work. But he said there's nothing wrong with just finding a job that pays you decently, and you may not enjoy it, but at least you have time outside of work to do things you enjoy. What do you think of that kind of idea?
I think there are all sorts of jobs. There are all sorts of engagement. There are also a chronological timing to that engagement. So your professor is not wrong, but to sort of say that is going to be the be-all and end-all, that may not also be the most nuanced way moving forward. Because I think at the end of the day, it's what fulfills you, right?
Yeah.
It may not be the job. And he's right. In fact, I was at an impact forum. If you Google, it's on YouTube.
Okay.
This was from my past life. I think it was 2016 or 2015. It was an impact forum, and I was on a panel, and they had this guy from McKinsey who presented the study in terms of what is the level of engagement of the staff in the organization. And it turns out that, interestingly, that most of the staff, you're lucky if you have the engagement for 20% of the time.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a McKinsey study, so it's maybe things have improved because it's been almost 8-9 years since that forum that I sat through. So I actually fell off my chair when I heard that. So I guess if they are right, if they were right, so the insights that your professor shared with you would have quite a fair bit of relevance. But you could find a job that pays you well and you're not very engaged. At some point, do you think that it is going to be tenable over the medium and long run? My sense is that may not be, right? And sometime you will want to make that switch.
Yeah.
Right? On the other hand, you may find that, okay, you're not very engaged, but it gives you enough money for you to have a very nice home, right? Your wedding can take place. I think it at least gives you a bit more runway to find fulfillment. And that could be one way. But eventually it will converge. That's my sense.
Okay. And do you, I'm sure you're a very busy man, but do you have like hobbies outside of work that, keeps you going also?
Well, I like walking. I'm not sure whether that counts as a hobby. Yeah. I really like walks and I
Do you listen to music or podcasts or anything when you're walking?
I listen to music.
Okay.
Yeah, I listen to quite a lot.
Yeah, you can listen to this podcast while you're walking. Sometimes you can find it on Spotify.
Yeah.
What's your go-to track to listen to when you're walking?
I usually listen to Cantonese songs.
Wow. Okay.
Jackie Chung,
Yeah.
Leslie Chung, Sammy Cheng, Joey Yung.
Yeah. Nice.
So because I was Cantonese was the first dialect I learned when I was a baby. Because in those days, my parents didn't have a place of their own, so I think they rented a room or bit, And when I came, right, I couldn't stay with them. They were both working, so I was fostered out to a Cantonese speaking nanny, and she had a few other. This was your early precursor to what I think our ACDA, is it? Is it early
ACDA.
childhood development? This was a precursor. This was in 1964, right? So so that was the first thing I learned. So I guess when you grow up, I spoke Cantonese all the way until primary school. So my parents were Teochew. They had to learn to speak Cantonese to communicate with me. I cannot speak.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the decision that Ferris is making, right? If I could force you to not be nuanced for a second, and you had to pick a workplace where you got paid really well, but you hated the people that you worked with and you hate the boss that you're reporting to, or a workplace where you get paid like peanuts, but you really enjoy going in there, which one would you pick?
I think in reality, it's not going to be that extreme.
Yeah, of course not.
Right?
But let's play in this hypothetical world, if you don't mind for 1 second.
I think that one, you will have a lot of mental health issues. One, you will not be able to sustain yourself. So the best thing for you to do is to try as much as possible to tong the intense, but buy yourself a bit of time to go upskill yourself, take control of your own career health, charge forward and change the environment.
Wow, nice. Yeah, wow, that's pretty baller advice. What do you reckon you guys would do? First or second one?
I mean, like speaking personally, right? This is my first job, like straight off uni, and we work with such young people that it makes like the workplace a lot more engaging, and like we run around and do stuff most of the time. So it's like still fun for like me at my age.
But what are you saying about the pay? No, I'm just kidding. Go on. Sorry.
Anyways, so I've heard my friends who work with maybe slightly older colleagues and they just can't vibe, like they can't
Click.
they can't click. Yeah, so I don't know how I can't really imagine myself in that space for now.
Yeah.
So I would choose that side.
Less money for
now. I'm not getting married anytime soon, so
Why?
Yeah, why not, Alfie?
Are you dating?
yes.
Oh, good. Yeah. Don't think too long. Don't think too hard.
I guess you're waiting for him to propose.
You want me to talk to him?
Big hint.
I give you his number.
Yeah. The Minister for Manpower is asking you to propose.
I think he'll be a bit nervous. He'll be like, okay, better do
okay.
it. Yeah.
How about you,
But
Chris?
Okay, I think I would say that I've been quite lucky, or like I'm quite fortunate to not to have to worry about finances too much because I still have my parents. So for now, I'm able to have that opportunity to really focus on myself and develop myself because I'm still young and I'm still developing my career. So for now, I am okay with working in an environment where I am comfortable with the people. I enjoy the work that I do, but maybe the pay is not as, it won't be that good in the long run. Yeah, but I think going back to your point about upskilling, that's really important, and having to take control of the situation and like really changing your environment, because I mean, in the end of the day, like it's your life, and whatever you do, you have full control over it. So yeah,
And that's the spirit, man.
Yeah.
Really, that's the spirit.
Mintan, you've been working like in very different industries, and I'm pretty sure you've had also supervisors or like superiors that you've been working with. I'm also certain that you are also a superior yourself, and you've been a boss to many people as well. Do you think you are a good boss, actually?
I'm a tough boss.
You're a tough boss.
You see, I without hesitation. I think whether I'm a good boss or not, that is something that my colleagues, my subordinates, and so they would have to be the ultimate judge of that, right? But I think I'm a tough boss because I have very exacting demands on myself, right? So because I have exacting demands on myself, obviously that would then get transferred to my colleagues and so on as well.
Yeah. And over the years, like the different bosses that you've had, what is the one quality or what are the qualities in the good bosses that you've had that you've appreciated?
I think consistency is most important.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the toughest boss would be we agree on something, and then after that, he's the last person who spoke to him, then he changes, the thing. You don't know how to move.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Like so, like that, not having that decisiveness, so to speak.
Yeah. No, I think they can be very decisive when you talk to them, but then the last person to talk to the okay gets to hear about that. I tell you, then you after all the presentations and all the decision making tree, all that kind of things itself, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And you will all come across that at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Hopefully, how would you manage someone like that if you do come across?
I think the if you know that they have this tendency, then you have to continue to calibrate more, right? So you just got to keep calibrating, and up to the final point when you launch, you better check with your boss again, just to make sure that no one preempted him, after you've already spoken to him.
Okay, and I think I have to ask. You've recently changed bosses, so to speak, right? PM Lee stepped down now as SMD, and now it's PM Wong. How's that transition going?
I think it's going on very smoothly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are any differences between the two of them?
I think they are both very experienced. They have the entire historical context. They've got a lot of institutional knowledge. And the institutional memory, I think this is important. And I think this continuity has been very seamless. I've interacted with SM, in the last 4 years. I've also worked with PM when he was the chair of the MTF, the Multi-Ministerial Task Force, during COVID, because at the time, I was second minister for Manpower, but for the dorms, that was pretty much under my portfolio. So I worked with him quite a fair bit. So I think it's a good transition.
Nice. Okay, and this leads us pretty nicely to our fast advice question. So the way this segment works is that it's a pretty short question from one of our viewers, and we are looking for like kind of one line or one word advice for this, right?
Okay.
So this fast advice question comes from someone using the pseudonym "I'm still alive but I'm barely breathing," and his question is: Can I say "not my job" to my CEO? Can I say "not my job" to my CEO? What's your advice for this person? One line.
Never say that.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I think that's good. Let's move
When
on.
the CEO tells you, even though it's not your job, it's your job.
Wow. Okay. Have you ever been in that situation before?
More than you could ever possibly imagine.
So and that's what you took your own advice basically. You did the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So for I'm still alive but I'm barely breathing, do what minister said, and maybe you could end up as a minister one day as well. That's the first step. I suppose. Okay, let's move on to our last question for today. Are you ready for this one? This is from someone using the pseudonym Taylor Not So Swift. Taylor Not So Swift.
Hi, Tete.
And this person writes, I am suffering from imposter syndrome at work, where
What syndrome?
imposter syndrome.
Imposter.
Imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Where I do not feel like I belong or that I am doing enough. How do I cope with this sense of inadequacy and the pressures of work? Also, any advice on how to relax after office hours? Are you familiar with imposter syndrome?
My interpretation of imposter syndrome is born out of my generation. Maybe a bit different. Maybe
Okay.
let's hear you in terms of there will always be some form of intergenerational disconnect as well. So
Yeah.
maybe I can hear you out.
Okay. Do you guys? I can say. I mean, the term has been twisted quite a bit from its original usage, but what it means most of the time in our culture nowadays is like a feeling of like being inadequate, that you got your job almost by like a fluke, and that people don't realize how bad at things you are. And then you just always have this mindset that I have to prove myself to not be an
your
imposter.
worth.
That I'm not an
Yeah.
imposter. Yeah. Is it different from your understanding of it?
Well, I think it's morphed.
Okay.
It's morphed somewhat. I'll tell you, at a later point what my understanding of it is. But I think more importantly, this actually has to do with a sense of your own self-worth. And it is something that I think is a problem that has not been brought up enough. And it is just this thinking that I'm not good enough and needing the affirmation, the validation, the reassurance. This is actually quite fundamental in first and foremost bringing it to the fore in terms of the awareness, because it is only through the awareness that people can then attempt, I say, I choose my word very carefully, even begin to attempt to be able to help you. Now, if you keep it within yourself, then it's very difficult because people do not know what you're thinking of. And I think it's, again, one of those things that would lead to, in the long run, to a slide into hopelessness and eventually into depression. So I want to reassure you that society, the general community, in all instances, actually nobody really bothers with how good you are or how bad you are. While when we are doing the work, we think, whether we are good enough and so on. In actual fact, most people have their own issues, have their own problems that they are already struggling with, and nobody really would be affected by how you perform. At the end, it's just the outcome.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that I want to reassure you, that you feel inadequate. Let me tell you that many other people feel that they are even more inadequate than you. It's just that you don't know what they're thinking, right? Now you may find that, wow, I'm very confident and so on, correct? But actually, how do you know the experiences that I've gone through, the depths of despair that I've actually put myself through in order for me to emerge here? You don't know how unscathed this has been, or how much of my scars and so on that I've had. So I want to sort of suggest, if I may, humbly, and that is, don't let negativism affect you. I think the world has already enough negativism. you should be positive, be optimistic, because it's a lot easier being hopeful, having that sense of optimism and positivity than to be negative. Right? It takes very few muscles for you to smile. But when you frown, it's a lot of muscles. You
And
waste
he's
a lot more
doctor,
muscle
so he
power.
He knows for sure.
So a lot of it is your own, how you can control. I had relatives where in my growing up years was also very tough. I was in Mangsil, in those days, quite intense. You have got all the very good schools, right? ACS, RN. So my cousins are all from very good schools. So there's always this sense of comparison, right? That I'm from a neighborhood school, all that. And then even when I went into university, people didn't believe. They thought that at some point I'll be kicked out.
Yeah.
Or I went in by the back door. So of course after a while, I said no, I crawled in.
Yeah, you lean into it.
Yeah. So I guess what will not break you will only toughen you. I think that's the most important thing. And again, maybe share with you an uncle joke,
Yeah, go on.
You go and see this Rocky Balboa, right?
Yeah.
Life is not about how many punches you can throw. It's about how many punches you can take and keep moving forward.
And do you have any tips for Taylor Not So Swift about how to relax after office hours? I think you might have touched on it earlier.
Yeah. You know the song You Belong With Me
Oh yeah.
by Taylor Swift? Yeah. So you only have to account to yourselves, right? And to your loved ones. You don't need to live by anyone else's standards. Okay? All right? So the song goes, right? She's cheerleader, I'm on the bleachers, right? She wears high heels, I wear sneakers.
Yeah.
But we're comfortable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't want to sing, but...
Why not? You were in choir or something, right? When you were in school. Is that correct? You were in the choir?
Yeah, so I was.
Yeah, you can sing it for us
Yeah,
if you want
yeah.
to.
So what? You belong to yourself. You belong with me.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, thank you.
No, I think it's you belong to me.
You belong to me?
Or is it with
You
me?
belong with
With me, yeah. Okay, so I got it right. Yeah,
One is a bit more toxic. Than
Yeah.
the other.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you earlier spoke about going on walks. What are your most recommended walking trails in Singapore?
Oh, there are so many. I try to vary it. So most weekdays it's actually very intense. So I just walk from my house to the beach.
Okay.
Right. So I live in the east. The entire Teluk Kurau connector. It's very nice walk. On weekends, I try to go to MacRitchie Reservoir. The boardwalk is very nice. You could also try Botanic Gardens, and then the Southern Trails. Usually I park at Mount Faber, just off Telok Blangah, that first car park, and then you walk up, and then you walk across to Henderson Waves, right, all the way to Hort Park and back. Yeah, it's also a very nice walk. So there are many walks. And then up in the north, in Punggol, the waterways, it's very, very nice.
Yeah.
So there are many, many nice trails that you can walk around.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you a bit about this like imposter syndrome thing, right? Like when you came into politics, you were the minister you are the minister for Manpower, right? But your career before that was mostly to do with like healthcare and things like that. Did you ever think like, hey, why not give me the Minister for Health role? Like why Minister for Manpower? And did you feel like any sense of like inadequacy taking up this role?
Well, I would have felt that way maybe if I joined in my 30s or 40s. But at the age that I joined the government at 55, I was really looking to see how I can contribute and serve in whatever capacity. And I gave an interview earlier this year in St. Gallen. I really have no expectations on any role. I'm actually happy to be a backbencher, happy to contribute in whatever way possible, right? So if at that particular point in time, PM of course I was very honoured and very, very I felt very privileged to have been given a ministerial role, just coming in like this.
Yeah.
So I think he must have felt that that I had some ability to contribute. I didn't ask him, right? So,
Okay.
and PM, in working with me through the MTF, didn't think, at least they didn't come and tell me that, hey, I needed to do this differently or whatever. So I guess, I would just keep pushing until somebody tells me to stop.
Yeah. I must say though that MOM has the most badass name out of all the ministries. It's like the most macho sounding one. It's like man and power. Is that something that you take pride in?
It's also mom.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There's
So
parents,
got to soften it a little bit.
No. I mean, please don't think that's lame. But I think that the more important thing about manpower, in addition to solving the acute need for labor, aging workforce, talent development, upskilling, career health, helping to uplift low-wage workers, making sure that our aging workforce continues to have opportunities for them. I think we are also looking to see how we can be a lot more inclusive for people with disabilities, giving people second chances, yellow ribbon, and so on and so forth. And also at the same time for, to protect the gig economy workers. How do we make sure that our workplaces, to the questions that have come in, become less toxic, to make it more equitable, right? Because, at the end of the day, actually, if you think about it, in all of our waking hours, our workplace is actually our first home, right? In your waking hours, you spend more time at the workplace than you do spend at home. And so, I think it behooves all of us to make sure that the place that we spend the most number of waking hours must be one that is nurturing, cultivating, encouraging, endearing, fulfilling, and all-encompassing. I think then we would have done our job.
Right.
And in this aspect, do you think like the team dynamics or like the colleagues in the workplace really is an important element to helping overcome all these issues?
Definitely. The challenge, Priscilla, is that we are all made differently. We all have different upbringings. We are exposed differently, and we will have different baggages. That is life, right? And how do we then, get people to come together to build a collegial and stay collegial? Because there'll be people who move in and out, there'll be turnover. So in every organization you go through this, right? You form, right? You form, then you storm, correct? Because I don't like this particular habit, or you're so messy, the table is all over the kind of thing itself, right? So first you form, then you storm. After you storm, then you normalize, you norm, right? Then you start to perform, right? Now, many people are stuck at the storm stage, form and storm, but they cannot get through to normalize, you see. So it's how do we get them to norm before they can perform?
Ooh.
Wow. Oh, that's quite a legacy. And I think on that note, that's all that we have time for today. Dr. Tan See Leng has to take a look at the mole on my back after this. But thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Help Desk, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing your advice.
Thank you.
We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Bye.